Well, good Saturday night to everybody out there in YouTubeville. This is Tenacious Earl. Hey, Brandon, could you give me a thumbs up or some kind of a comment if you hear me? If so, I'll get moving here. If not, then I'll have to do a little bit of sleuthing. I think probably it's fine, but getting feedback from others is probably the easiest way for me to get this all figured out and squared away, and yeah, because I don't want to get too far into this. I hope everybody's having a good weekend thus far. Eastern Seaboard, it's been cold. I think it's cold throughout a lot of the, seems a bit low, but you can hear it okay. Yeah, I guess the best thing I can do is just try and pull it like this, but then you start seeing the filter and all that good stuff. So, and then if I turn it, I can't see my screen. So that's okay. We'll get it figured out. I got it maxed out. So, all right. Well, anyway, so I wanted to do a video tonight because I introduced this league a few weeks ago on Tabletop Baseball Plus, I believe it was, but it could have also been here. It probably was here. Lost a little bit of track of time here, and so Ten-acious Baseball League version 3.0 is going on, and we've already talked about what teams will be in it. I'll rattle them off: Baltimore, Boston, the Cubs, Milwaukee, Seattle, San Francisco. It seems like it's in a Huey Lewis song. Seattle, San Francisco to... I'll probably get blocked for that or copyright strike. Anyway, Huey, I love you. Anyway, so San Francisco, San Diego, Texas, Toronto, and Washington. So those are the teams. And we're going to be using History Maker Baseball. And first off, I got to the point where, and I posted something on my blog about it today, and I just thought but in addition, I would just talk through what my thought process was going into the season and what we're going to do. So, it's been a long time since I did anything particularly organized with History Maker Baseball. There was like a play virtual convention this summer where I played 2 games and they stunk. I did horrible. Maybe I picked a bad team, but didn't do so well. And so that was about the extent in the last 3 years that I've played HMB. So getting familiar with the rules so I'd be able to play games on YouTube in a relatively competent fashion, I thought was going to be important. Now that makes me think here. Let me just double check, because maybe does this sound any better? Anybody still there? Somehow my microphone was set to the computer and not to my microphone. So that's probably why things weren't sounding so great. So now I could probably move this back just fine, and everybody will be thinking, hey, this is cool. So anyway, buy this nice microphone, and it's not being used. So I decided that I was going to have to do some kind of a getting up to speed project, because as much as History Maker Baseball, especially when you've done things like History Maker Golf, it's pretty straightforward. There's a lot of little nuances and things like that it takes, just like playing, it's not just like playing Stratomatic Super Advanced. Super Advanced is a very intense way to play. You're constantly checking base runners and stuff like that, but there's just little quirks and stuff. So what I was just going to do is what I decided. I decided I was going to take a random team that was not going to be in my league, and I used a random generator from the internet to do that, and it turned out it would be Detroit. So Detroit Tigers, 2019, not a very good team. I think they had 40 some odd wins, and I thought that actually would be a pretty good thing to try, because mostly I mean, I think Boston will be okay, but I want to get used to the fact that there might be some losses involved in this. And when I did the Phillies replay, my reaction to some of the results wasn't so great, and so I just getting myself into the swing of things and dealing with a team that's not so hot. Excuse me. And Detroit is that, so I'm going to open this up. So I decided to do a short preseason, and I'm not going to really talk through the game-by-game results. I've already played out. It was 12 games. I thought that would be a pretty good battery of games in order to kind of like work through a lot of the processes, get really kind of like into the flow of the game day stuff. And so that's what's going on. Hey, Larry, good to see you. My bowling friend. I love seeing his posts about his kegling. I had a bad week this week. My first game, I think, was in the 120s. I couldn't carry, and it took me a while to get my spares figured out. So, but anyway, let's just go into the preseason here. So I picked 4 teams that were also not in this, because I guess what I really wanted to do is I wanted to get a chance to play with a few other teams, just get them out. And the thing that I did differently here was that the teams that I picked, I didn't really use any kind of, I mean, I just used more or less the players that were availed to me from what was produced in the game, so, or by play themselves. So Detroit went up against the Yankees, the Athletics, the Cleveland Indians for Larry, and Tribe fans not here, but another loyal Tribe fan. and then the Royals. So see, and I wanted to get AL teams because I thought it would be easier. I think I'm going to do a DH in this next league. Just it saves on some changes. There's not as much strategy as far as double switches and things like that, but that's okay. It saves a little bit of time to do the DH. So Yankees away, Oakland home, Cleveland away, Kansas City home. I think I pretty much just decided I was going to go in that kind of a venue fashion, away home. I don't think I really used anything other than I just thought it would be good to do kind of like half and half for this. So I was really surprised to be able to get Detroit to do a 6-6 record in 12 games. Granted, it's a small sample size. And granted, they got 3 of the wins against Kansas City, which Kansas City was better than Detroit, but they're still not very good. But Detroit was able to squeeze one out against the Yankees, 5-4. And then they also lost a couple to Oakland. Oakland, a pretty good team. But then they beat Oakland in the final game 13-3. A pretty good shellacking there. They broke out. And then against Cleveland, they picked up that last game as well. So a lot of their games were just one-run wins. They kept a lot of the games tight, but they did get Cleveland shellacked them 17-4 in the 7th game of the season, if you see there on the screen. So it was up and down, but we got, and I have some stats. I'm using what I built here for Detroit, and I'll just show you what I have going on in a minute. But so this is the batting stats for, let me shrink my deal here. I may actually try and bring in actual stats as the season goes on from the real campaign to scale, obviously. So after I do a game, if I could try to have a way where I could bring in, after 3 games in the real regular season for Boston, and just try to compare some of the overall batting average, things like that for the team. Probably, I don't know, maybe some individual player stuff. But we may just pick milestones to do that. And again, I don't know, as I mentioned earlier, I'm just playing Boston in this. I'm going to go ahead and roll out the other games using the... Where are you there, buddy? I know you're in here somewhere. Oh, it's in the other box. There's a quick reference chart. It's free on the Play website. Actually, I could probably come over here and go to free stuff and go to HMB and go to the instant results chart. So, I mean, right here you go. You just take the winning percentages for the Visting team. I make lots of those kinds of errors and when I'm typing. But anyway, you take your visiting team and your home team winning percentage, and you do a 2-die roll, and what is in EI? I'm going to have to read this a little bit more. I've never used this, but I know others have. But this is going to be how I generate the results from the games that I'm not going to play. Obviously, we're not going to generate statistics from those teams and players. Boston will play 6 games against each team, but I'm not really collecting that data for those teams. I'm collecting it on paper. I'm not going to compile it and put it into a statistical form. But where was I? Detroit. So Jordy Mercer had a really nice preseason here, 12 games. He only played in 7 of them. Got a 500 average in that and 3 homers. So he had 9 homers in the real season. He got to his full 162 complement in 7 games. He got to 54 of them in 7 games. Anyway, Kristen Stewart, who is second here, he actually got off to a real hot start. He was around 600, but it was kind of nice to see him tail off a little bit. I actually didn't use him in the last game of the season because of this preseason, just because he was cold, and I was trying to do some rotation of roster spots and things like that. So you can see Miguel Cabrera, 326. Some pretty good OPS here for even Brandon Dixon. Poor average, but 787 slug. Pretty good for him. He had 4 dingers. So pretty good totals here. 268 average, 921 OPS. Not too bad. Not too bad at all. I mean, they're 6-6 record. You'll take that. Their pitching is actually pretty good compared to what I think their staff ERA in 2019 for the full season was like 5.29 or something like that. So we got it to a 4.14. Now we got a couple guys down here at the bottom. Buck Farmer, he had a bad outing early on, which just kind of like made it tough to recover from, for a relief pitcher. Daniel Norris, I think he gave up 6 early in one of the games. He may have been that Yankee game, that the third game. I think they lost 15 to something or other. And then Blaine Hardy had a couple of tough ones there too. So, but you got Shane Green. He didn't give up an earned run at all. Didn't give up a run, period. 4 saves in 5 appearances. Stump, Matthew Boyd, a good for start, and even Jordan Zimmerman, 1-0, 225. So, they did pretty well here. I would imagine over the course of a season, this would all kind of like average out, and Zimmerman would probably end up closer to 4. And you'd end up with Norris ending up closer to 5, probably. It's just it would even itself out. But, we'll take that. I think that's pretty good. And so, let me just see. Hey, Glenn. How you doing, man? Good to see you. And there's Tribe Fan, too. I mentioned him earlier with a little bit of Cleveland stuff there. Like I said, I didn't really keep anything for the Indians. There were only 3 games. But this was just a good workout for me. Getting back familiarized with things. And I did all the game day stuff. It's interesting to, this game, one of the highlights, or some of the highlights, you get the team chemistry stuff, right? So, each day you roll on their streak. They've got a 2-game winning streak and a player who is happy on the team. Then you roll a single die, and if it is 3 or less, then they're full sunny and full harmonious. And if their opponent comes in and is on a losing streak, or even if they just lost 1, and they end up the decider die goes against them, and they're dissonant or semi-dissonant or whatever, it really makes some of those checks for chemistry. They become almost. I don't want to say gift hits, but it really does work itself through. The right now chart takes some getting used to, because you have to pay attention to, are you up to the 5th inning, then you can only be semi hot or semi cold. Although if you select a hot and a cold player at the beginning of the game, and those are full qualities, but during the game you're checking if pitcher's given up a strikeout before. If it's the 4th inning and he's given up a strikeout, or if he's pitched a strikeout, and you check if he's hot and the decider dies, no, he still is not hot, because you don't get full hot until after from the 6th on. So those kinds of things. I like, you get umpires, you get ballparks, you get you get your fielding checks, a few special results here and there. So I mean, I'm gonna try and play the injuries. I'm doing a lot of. I've made up a lot of the reserve cards that weren't available with the game too. So I'm really hoping that I can honor the injuries as best as possible. I feel like the injuries in this game are not nearly as numerous as in Stratomatic. Seems like you're getting an injury just about every game, and if you're planning for injuries, like if you're doing the squad rotation like we're going to do here based on usage, then it can really kind of throw you off here. So let's instead here, let me just show you. So this is the way that I keep my stats. I did this before with my first TBL, and then I switched. I'm not going to do that this time, because I'm only keeping track of the Red Sox. But for the Tigers here, each player has here's Jordy Mercer, and he was leading off towards the end of this, and you can see, he, except for this first game where he got a pinch hit, he hit in every game that he appeared in. So, and I just have one for every player. There's Cabrera, 12-game hitting streak for Miguel Cabrera, right? That's pretty cool. I didn't notice that until right now. So, and then it compiles on this, and then it goes into the other sheet. But anyway, so I'm going to do the same thing with the Red Sox. Here is this Boston season book, and you can see here. This is going to be the Boston. Here, give me a second. I'm going to do something. Hopefully it doesn't mess me up. Might. We'll see. I'll have to look in the other charts, but I like having a little buffer on either side. But you can see here the Boston Red Sox will open with the champion Washington Nationals. It is a home series, and they're going to go to Milwaukee. you have to understand this is a randomly generated schedule, so there isn't anything that Major League Baseball does like trying to have a West Coast swing. So like you got San Francisco and San Diego. This isn't set up to do like the two away series for that, and maybe throw Seattle in there as well, or do San Francisco, San Diego, come home, and then go out and do like Milwaukee and Seattle. I didn't do that. So you'll see here, they do get a home stand right away with Texas and Seattle for just a couple series, and then they go away to Toronto and Chicago, home for Toronto. The other thing with this random schedule setup is that I also got a couple of home and aways. There's the Padres here, we go away and then we come home. And there's Seattle, Milwaukee, Seattle away, Milwaukee home, then San Francisco, then out to San Francisco, then and into Baltimore. Then you get Baltimore at home, at Texas, home for San Francisco, home for the Cubs, and then finally down along the Anacostia against Washington. So that's the schedule. And again, I've got this, let's see. This is where it all imports into, so there's nothing in there yet. Now let me take a look at my stat book here. Did I have everything screw up, or is everything okay? Game number 1. Yeah, it did. I can't do that. Where's my thing here? Let's just the way it looks it up. That's the way we're going to have to leave it. Now this should be okay, hopefully. Fingers crossed. There we go. What happened? Schedule and results. That must be this guy here. Got corrupted somehow. Probably I just need to close this and reopen it. Sometimes when you get a lot of lookups and stuff, it starts. There we go. It gets a little confused sometimes if you throw a bunch of information at it. So this is the way I'm going to collect Boston stuff, and all good. So this is the project overview spreadsheet. So here is where this is kind of like the day-to-day schedule. The green are double headers. I like to put a double header in for every team just to try and force them to use a spot starter if possible. So we're doing a few of those. This is where I'm going to report the results. As you can see, I have to add a couple of extra columns over here for Game 6 and Game 7 when we're doing some double headers. Down here at the bottom is going to be where I'm kind of compiling all my stats. I haven't got, or all the standings. I haven't quite got there yet. It's pretty close, and once I start getting data, it'll be easier to figure out. And then I have selected umpiring crews. I did this randomly. Over here are the crews themselves. What I did was I took all of the umpire crews for 2019. I broke it up into crew chiefs and then like 2, 3, and 4. So they tend to have ranks. I mean, you probably know this. They rank them according to probably service as well as maybe proficiency, things like that. So then I gave them all random numbers for each class, and then the ones that came up in with the random number 1 became crew 1. So it's Halley and Dreckman, Guccione, and Blazer. 2 is going to be Barrett, Hudson, Bellino, and Sherwater. And then you got Colbreth, Greg Gibson, Mr. Friend of crap. Is it Villanueva from the Tigers? Speaking of the Tigers, Greg Gibson, Fletcher, and Little. And then Everett, Honora, Drake, Morales. 5 is going to be Davis, Laz, Diaz, CB, Buckner. Quite a crew there of sketchy umpires. And Rayburn. And then Kellogg. Angel Hernandez probably should have been in that group too, but, he gets his own crew. Johnson and Ripperger. And then Jerry Meals and Eddings and Porter and Estabrook there for 7. So, and then what I did again, I just tried to do random to throw them in here, and I'm hoping that I don't have too many like repeats from series to series. But the way I've set this up is we got like crew 6 here for the Mariners and Brewers. I'm not really going to be using Kellogg's crew for that, but in theory. Let's see, what do we got? What's the second one? Red Sox is 2, so is 2 up here? Yeah, so Barrett's crew is going to be with the Rangers and Giants. Barrett's 4th guy is Sherwater. He is going to be the home plate umpire for the first game of the Red Sox at Brewers series. And then from there it'll be Bellino, because it'll be Sherwater, then back to Everett, and then the second guy, and then Bellino is the third one. I got Bellino in here in this one, and it originally pulled up DeMuro. I can't find DeMuro's umpire card. I don't know what happened. I don't know if they just didn't card him or whatever. He's one of the main umpires. They have a lot of guys who are fill-ins. So then what I did is I just, separated him up. Here is umpire group number 4 with Everett. He's ready to go. I have Boston and Washington ready to go. They're all set up with the rosters. I have my Citizens Bank Park. I know we don't have the Phillies involved here, but Michigan and Trumbull. Dice boxes. They built me a dice tower, which it's interesting. It's got just a little guy right here that you could put them in. Just like that, and you don't have to really shake them up. They seem to go pretty well. Hopefully you get a chance. I got to figure out the best way to show games from that and all that good stuff. Trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to talk about here before. So, honestly, I'd like to be able to do my first game tomorrow. We'll have to see if I get my act together for that. Shouldn't really take too long, but like I know Brandon said he wants to see some of the first game is going to be a little different because we're starting fresh. So we basically we don't do the D6 roll for chemistry. We do, or for mood. So the mood would be sunny or stormy. Instead, we would use the decide or die and basically ask the question, is this team sunny to start the season? You roll it. If it's a dot, then they're going to be sunny, which means that they're semi-harmonious. If it's not, then they're semi-dissonant, and then you do the other team the same way. Are they hungover from last night's beer? And something like that. I don't know. Wow, I just noticed that the roll over here in my thing was quad 4s, which is kind of a nice roll there. I don't know if you can see that. But anyway, I guess you can't. That's okay. Okay, well, I guess nothing comes to mind. I'm not going to use strategy cards this time. I mean, we'll attempt stolen bases. We'll attempt hit and runs sometimes. We'll sack, bunt, all that kind of stuff. Maybe try to take an extra base. Kind of like those are the green strategy cards. I'm not going to do the thing where you send the guy, send the pitching coach to the mound and he gives him a trait, or, it'll set it to like being right now. There's like a manager influence thing, and there's a couple different things that are like that. I'm not doing those. I feel like we're going to be able just to simulate, a lot of the stuff. Just, the strategy goes that way. I'm going to try to use as many of the advanced rules in this project as I can remember. You know, it's not easy. I don't think that we have anybody in this set that's going to be in. So in recent years, Play has introduced another level of freshness, which is like your strong pitchers or extra strong. It's for guys that average 9-inning games or 8-inning games or things like that, you know, just to try. So it's mostly for historic purposes, so that, you know, a guy who has, you know, who lasts a long time most of the time, he gets to be fresh for 6 innings. So just to refresh your memory, if you have played History Maker Baseball, if you haven't, a pitcher is fresh, a starting pitcher is fresh for his first 3 innings, semi-fresh for the second 3. That's kind of like the base level. Unless they give up, I think it's 6 or more runs in an outing, then I think they completely lose their freshness altogether. And relievers, it's, I think, 1 fresh, 1 semi-fresh. So, you know, there's when we read these dice, we're rolling 3 dice. When we read them in ascending order, there are quite a few of the 1 rolls which really rely on the fresh aspect of the pitcher. And so if they are, a pitcher early in his outing, if he can get some low rolls, he can really kind of like mow through a field. So, but that's one thing I'm probably not going to be introducing so much, because I don't really think we have. So, with Detroit, I did try an opener, and that may have actually been where Buck Farmer got his got touched up a little bit. So, yeah, I don't know how much I'll do that. I guess I'm going to probably take a look at what Boston did. You know, they have, for the most part, 5, at least to start the season, 5 pretty solidified starters. You know, Sale, Rodriguez, Porcello, Price, and who's the other one here? Let's see. Well, let's take a look at the roster. I guess I didn't show you this. I'm not sure if I've shown you guys this. So, from Baseball Reference, I exported tables here of defensive lineups tables. And based on months, you can get this worked out. So basically, where is this data? It's right down here. So here is catcher first. Some of this is hidden, so I can fit it in here. But I was able to go through and figure out how I could go and count all of this data here. So I was able to come up for each month. So for catchers, Christian Vazquez was the catcher 19 times. So we're going to use Vazquez as the primary catcher. Blake Swihart is going to be the backup catcher. We're going to have Sandy Leon right there just in case. Swihart is only in there for the first few weeks, and then he's out, and Leon is kind of like the backup there for the rest of the season. You do get Centeno there at the end. But I did this for all the positions. So green means, this is the set of cards, and I have some extras here. I've had to make up these extras. But green means that I've got the cards ready. The only one I don't have is Gorkis Hernandez. I don't know if I'll actually need him. I think that's who that is. So we got, and then Evaldi. So that was the other one I was forgetting there. And we're going to have, and then I'm not able to do the same thing with the pitcher's log for like relief pitching. So I basically did the best I could. You could do the starting pitching. It's down here. And DHs, but your starting pitcher here, so you can kind of see how things evolve. You aren't going to have Chris Sale in September. Rodriguez is like the one guy who's the consistent starter throughout. Porcello is there for the most part. He probably misses a start there in July. but we probably won't even notice that unless he gets an injury along the way. But so then I go through the pitching logs and I try to do my best to come up with a bullpen that is what was used during each month. So each one of these, like March, April, so this guy here is going to be the first 3 series. So we've got 18 series, so we can break it up into 6, and it's going to adjust as we go. So after the first 3 series, Evaldi is going to leave the rotation, and Velazquez is going to join the rotation as the 5th starter. And so on and so forth. And the same thing here. We got, I think that's Eduardo Nunez. Let me check. I think it is. So we go from Nunez, that first 3. Then he goes to the bench and ends up being Michael Chavez. So Eduardo Nunez and then Michael Chavez will then take over, and then Brock Holt takes over for quite a bit. The rest of the season until we get to the point where the other Hernandez, Marco, I think that's Marco, comes in there. So, that's how it's going to work in for each of the teams. Since I know my schedule, I was able to then, towards the end of here, like you'll see, we got some white, which means I don't have these cards. Well, it's because I think they face the Rangers in March and April, and the August parts of the schedule, so I have all of those players. I may have to develop some more cards if we get injuries and some of these guys. I think that's the other thing I'm going to try to do here is I'm going to try, before I do the result rolls, I'm going to try and do the game day for each team. So we have a chance to develop injuries for the teams, so that way when Boston goes to play a team, there's a chance we may have like a till further notice injury going on with that team. So it seems like it is a thing that we can do, and I'm going to give it a shot and see. So, well, it seems like since I've been orating here a little bit more than jibing here with the chat here, that it's gone a little quieter. But if you have any questions, feel free to drop it into the chat there. Some of the time here the last couple weeks, so it took me a significant amount of time to do a 12 game preseason. I take my time. It's working on these spreadsheets to get them to do what I want them to do. It does take some time. I developed these PowerPoints, the first 2 PowerPoints in the tutorials for History Maker Golf. So it hasn't just been me recording game video, and so that's why it's been a little quiet here. Hopefully I'll get back to a little bit more of a regular schedule. It's warm down here now. I can turn down this heater a little bit. But yeah, so that's kind of like what's been happening, is just trying to prepare for this and to be ready. And I'm still going to make mistakes, but hopefully I make a lot fewer mistakes now that I've played a lot of this. So I've also tried to squeeze in about once a week a second season game, because that Ten-acious Football League is still going on, and there's, I think, 2 weeks left now, so it's getting towards the end. But I have an idea. How about if I just to try and prepare here a little bit for, it's a little bright, obviously. Let's let's tone it down just a little bit here. But you know, it's not going to be easy to put everything together. It's actually still pretty bright. So, you know, I'd like to be able to, you know, offer you guys the ability to see the cards and stuff. So, you know, like we got Chris Sale here. He's going to be the opening pitcher on the, I think it's a home, so he'll go in the home side. But I'm not sure you can see that very well. So the more I zoom in, the tougher it's going to be. I have the umpire cards over there. I can probably just, I'm going to try to use this as a little bit of like reconnaissance. You get the umpire mat. Some people have, you know, they have these nice play mats. I could put this like here. 9-inning sim of 66 Euchre versus Verlander. Interesting. So, you know, what I might end up having to do is have the umpire chart off. Some people have these nice play mats, and they're just really beautiful, and I don't have that. So what I might have to do is figure out another little guy here and just do this, and then we can try and zoom. Like so. That might be the best way to go. I probably won't be able to show you the... It's still kind of bright, isn't it? But let's see if we can get her dialed in a little bit. Can we get her dialed in? I mean, it's I don't know. I feel like if I use my phone, I probably would have the best opportunity to get a good zoom. So, you know, that's probably pretty good. You know, but just so then I can't put this guy out there. You know, it's not the best. You know, it's not the best. So yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I'm just trying to like figure out the best. So, you know, if I do this will probably be okay, right? You know, 1, 3, 4, probably do okay with that. You can, you know, if we move it up here, then you'll see less of the face there. But then everything else goes off camera, so I don't know. So anyway, hey Abba Brian and Dave Little, good to see you. So yeah, we're getting about ready for this. So hopefully tomorrow I'll get a game in, and yeah. So hope everybody's doing okay. I should really invest in better lights. Just get this glare right here, and it's like either it's all or nothing, and all that good stuff. But anyway, so it'll be Boston and Washington. We're going to be playing the Red Sox. We'll see. I think it's going to be Sale and Scherzer. I still have to, You know what? That's another thing I really need to probably do is come up with a rotation schedule. Probably do that tomorrow morning before I get going with anything else. But I'm going to sign off now because it's just about, you know, Tenacious Earl isn't so tenacious at nearly 11 o'clock at night. You know, so to get some tenacity back, I'm going to have to go get some shut-eye. But I just thought I would share what was going on in getting prepped for this project. So even pulling that thing way up there, I still can't get. It's dang hot. Can't get that to stop. And if I had something, see, just resistance is futile. But anyway, sorry I keep going on here a little long, but hopefully if you go, you guys who are late joiners, if you go back and look through the video some, you can see some of the stats from this preseason that I did, and just some of the theory behind why I was doing some stuff that I'm doing, and just planning to get going with some HMB. Hopefully tomorrow get game 1, maybe a second game in if I really feel like it. But anyway, good to see you at Brian and Brandon Baker, Dave Little, Hattori Hanzo, let's see who else, Tribe Fan, Glenn Perot, probably Perot. Been watching a lot of Hercule Poirot, so it makes me, the little gray cells, trying to get them to work. Larry Harris, so he had kind of he had a better night than I did, but still, by his standards, well, a couple of the games are good. I'll take that. I'll take a 158 if I throw basically an 11 strike affair or whatever, aside from one hiccup. And let's see, anybody else? I think that's it. So thank you guys for watching. We're going to get to rolling. You said roll the dice. Let's roll them. Let's roll them. Oh, yeah. No, just kidding. That's really kind of nasty. I'm sorry. I apologize to all. Good. It does feel good to get. I've been rolling these guys a lot when it comes to this project, and what I will say about History Maker Baseball. I guess I could finish off with this. There are times when you're kind of like a couple games in, and you get, you start getting these rolls where you're hitting Struggler a lot, and you're hitting the Flash, and you it could start to seem a little repetitive, but if you start thinking about Stratomatic too, you get a lot of these ground ball A's and fly ball outs, and it's just you're arriving at it from a different spot. And then what you start to appreciate with History Maker Baseball is some of the checks will go to your drama charts, some of the checks are going to lead to the experience, the right now, the chemistry, and some of them are going to go to the ones that are more like the special results. You get these umpires involved, and it can throw a little bit of havoc in there. You get the ballpark qualities. You're even doing like game day weather, and so there were a couple times where it was windy and the wind was blowing out, so it turned it from like a normal stadium to a semi-small. So there's that. There's selecting qualities. Like you have to select a hot and a cold, and when you do that, I think so. The game day rule, I forget. Somebody got. What did they get? Oh, shoot. Did they get a quality? I can't remember. In any regard, there was a quality that was acquired, and they got the role, and it really benefited them. The decide or die in this game is also something that I think is even more like unique from the golf. You know, the decider die can come up quite a bit in that too, but in this game, you know, you could get, you know, you get a roll where, you know, the guy's semi-slugger and it's not the home run. You know, it's almost like the you know, it's almost like the D20 without the suspense of rolling it. You kind of like find out immediately because you see what your check is, and then and then you think to yourself, oh wow, if he would have gotten the dot there, that would have been, well, I could have tied up the ball game or whatever. So yeah, I wish I had that, because it was an interesting case where the way the game day rolls shaped up, and it may have been that I just selected somebody to be the hot batter and they got the hot roll, which took them to a place where it helped them win the game or whatever. So that kind of stuff is neat. You know, they got all these highlight reel stuff that is, you know, you rarely ever get to, and I'm looking forward to getting to maybe a couple of those this season. So we're going to do 54 games. I don't know if we'll do a playoff or not. I just want to see how this plays out for this team, and we'll see how it compares. So, good night, guys. Some History Maker Baseball by Play Games tomorrow. And we'll just keep on rolling. Hit like, share, subscribe. Look forward to seeing all the stuff that you guys have going on out on your tabletops, the ones who are YouTubers, and if you want to leave a comment what you're doing at the moment on yours. Some of them already in the live stream here have done that, but if you're watching this after the fact, feel free. Love to hear what people are up to. So, till next time, keep rolling, and we will get to some HMB very soon. See ya.